You have two basic types of coffee that are grown commercially in the world. You have Robusta and Arabica. Joffrey's primarily deals only in specialty grade Arabicas, which is what we'll focus on real quickly. Difference is Robusta starts producing fruit very quickly, like in about 2 years. It grows at anywhere from sea level up to 3,000 feet. Grows a lot of coffee, smaller bean, very rough tasting. It's not a great quality. That's mostly what's in your canned supermarket coffee. Arabica, on the other hand, you're starting at about 2,000 foot and you go all the way up to 7,000 foot. You don't go much higher than that. It's a little cold. The trees don't like it. They don't produce as well. Arabica takes about 5 years to mature. In that 5 years, it'll finally yield its maximum amount, which is only going to yield about 1.5 pounds of roasted and ground coffee per tree per year. It takes 5 years to produce. So that'll give you an idea of a little bit of the work that's going into the farm before you're even harvesting your first crop. The way it works is, if you have one rainy season, you'll have one flowering, which means you're going to produce coffee once. If you have two distinct wet and dry seasons, you're going to have a main crop and a fly crop. And then if you don't have any distinct wet and dry seasons, the trees are producing basically all year round, and it's not uncommon to see a tree that has fruit, flower, and unripes all on the same vine. How it works is, about a month after the rainy season, the trees flower. It's a beautiful jasmine citrus scented flower. Only lasts about 3 days. Flowers fall off, tree goes into bud. Depending on the elevation of where it is on the mountain, higher elevations, the gestation period is longer. Lower elevation, it's a little warmer, it's quicker. So anywhere between 6 months at the earliest, up to 9 to 10 months, the higher up, is when the coffee matures. As you can see, it doesn't all mature at the same time. So you're going back there in what they call selectively picking. Only the red ripe cherries are getting picked. Here, these are actually from my backyard. Believe it or not. I bring trees home and plant them. Insides of the coffee trees, that's a Margio heap. With an elephant bean. Here's fruit, unripened bud. So it's all selectively picked. One of the reasons we go to origin is we go to the mill, and we want to make sure that everything that's coming into the mill is ripe. If you have too many unripes mixed in there, it makes a very, very uneven cup of coffee in the very end. You want to certify, you want them to know that everything that's coming in, you want basically 98% ripe cherry. Once it's harvested, as you see, it's weighed, they get paid an amount for whatever they got paid. Goes into a flotation tank. All the healthy fruit sinks to the bottom. The unripe fruit that is either not developed or insect riddled or fungus or whatever floats to the top. That's skimmed off and discarded. The healthy cherries go in to get depulped.
Is there any use for the discarded ones?
Actually, that's what they drink in country. It's amazing. You go to a place like Costa Rica that grows some of the greatest coffee in the world, go into a restaurant or coffee shop and have a cup of coffee. If it's not connected to a farm, if it's just a run-of-the-mill, the coffee that you get there is terrible. It's such a high export for them that everything that's good is usually exported. Here it's getting stripped. This is an Aqua Pulper, and what it does is they found a way to conserve water. So this is actually using water and centrifugal force to get that skin off of the cherry, and at the same time, it's washing the mucilage off. Inside that bean, that sticky, shiny surface is mucilage. It's very sweet, but that has to be removed, otherwise it starts to ferment. Gives the coffee a stale taste. So rather than soaking it in water like they used to do now, they do an aqua pulp, saves water, puts less water back into the system. Here, after this mucilage, the coffee's laid out to dry. It's got to dry down to about a 15% moisture content, and then the coffee goes into rest. If you take a coffee right off the tree after you processed it and went to taste it, it would taste very grassy, green, straw-like to you. When we go to cup, because we've been doing this for so long, we know that we can eliminate that flavor and we look for other defects in the cup. So the coffee goes in to rest in a nylon bag inside the actual pulp, which you'll see in the next room. And then after about 3 months, it goes to the mill to get sorted. We leave the coffee that we're not using in the parchment, and when we need it, we'll call up our importer and say, hey, time to mill the next container. At that point, they'll take the coffee out of the warehouse, it goes It has the parchment removed, which is like the skin of a peanut, only much more brittle. And it goes down and it gets sorted. Sorted by mechanical means. This is a density table. It's a table that's on an angle, it vibrates. Heavier beans stay to the top, smaller beans go to the bottom. There's 3 different bags. It runs through that process about 4 or 5 times. In countries that have the means, they do laser sorting, which is the beans are coming down at a rate of about 5,000 a minute down a little shaft. There's a color standard that's set by the mill, and anything that doesn't meet that standard, a blast of air comes in and rejects that bean, and it's collected on the bottom. And then the third and final step in certain areas is a hand sort, which is we call a Euro prep, which if its density table missed it and the laser missed it, the human eye will not. And these ladies sit there and it's amazing watching them work.
Now, is that a co-op or do you guys, do they all work for you guys?
Those are co-ops. What you're looking at here is co-op. This is an all woman-owned co-op in Sumatra, Indonesia, where during their civil war, their husbands went off to fight, never came back. And these ladies picked up and they run, you know, every once in a while you see a woman-owned co-op where they'll do a part of it, like the milling part and the sorting. These women do everything from maintaining the farm, the mill, doing their own export, and the coffee's fantastic. And then here, it's getting loaded, ready to go out to get shipped. And then the final process is the cupping process, which we're going over there and we're evaluating. We're looking for, basically, we're looking for defects and highlights of that coffee, deciding whether or not we want to buy that or not. A little bit, the decaffeination process. All the decaffeination process is not done usually in origin. The only country that probably does have coffee grown is Mexico. But most of it's done in West Germany, Mexico. There's a plant up in Canada. And that's done after all these processes. Basically, what this is it's a process that we use to evaluate different coffees on their own merits. We're getting samples sent from different farms in different regions from all over the world. What we'll do is Miguel and I, when it happens to be that particular harvest time or shipping time for that particular origin, we'll start receiving samples. We'll do them on that little drum roaster back there, and then we'll always use what we have as a control sample and then start evaluating the new crops. One of the things that during the training is when you're cupping different coffees, what you're doing is you're looking for the good and the bad. You're looking to either eliminate it because it has a defect, whether it's from the processing method or it's just an inferior coffee. And you're also looking for highlights. One of the things that'll make you a good roaster, and this is years of doing this, is you have a sensory memory bank, a flavor memory bank I call it, of when we're cupping different coffees. When you find an attribute that's you know outstanding in a certain cup of coffee, you want to store that because you know coffee changes over time. So one day, if Miguel and I are cupping a production roast out there, and let's say it's the soon-to-be world-famous Buckhorn Blend, and I'll go, Miguel, you know what? It tastes a little flat today. What have we cupped in the last 30 days that had a little zip in it, a little bit of a higher level of acidity? He'd better know the answer, but if not, I'll say, okay, it was this, and at that point, I'll say, okay, so now we're going to reduce the amount of Y coffee and add
Whatever
X, a little bit more of X to bring that acidity level back up so that coffee has that zip, that snap in the cup that we want. So you're doing it for 2 reasons. You're looking to identify positive and negative traits that might be in that particular coffee. And again, like Ted said, the coffees that are over in origin now, that are in parchment waiting, when they mill them, you know, God forbid something happens on the shipment over, when they're loading it, the crane tears a little hole and the coffee gets wet or something. Very, very bad for coffee. But we want to make sure that we're cupping the same, we're receiving the same quality that we're expecting. So before it gets into the system, it's evaluated. So what we'll do is we take the coffee, we'll roast it, and then we'll get what we call the dry aroma first. And this is your first giveaway that there might be something either bad or good in that particular coffee. There's some charts over here that just give you, you know, a slight array of what the possible aromas can be in coffee. You've got half of them that are positive and half of them that are negative, things to look out for.
And just to be on the right page, the Buckhorn is the one on the right.
Okay. You got a Buckhorn and a control sample. So when you're tasting, you've got, like I mentioned earlier, you've got 6 places on your tongue where you're really picking up 6 different taste sensations. With your olfactory, you've got the ability to pick up 40,000. So you're actually tasting more with your nose at most times than you are with your actual palate. So when you're smelling, you're getting like a cedarish, a cedar note. If it was for some reason they didn't do that natural process like I told you, where they leave the mucilage on, if it's not done properly, it gets what they call a ferment, which is it smells like mold, and it tastes even worse. You'll be able to pick that up in the dry aroma before you even get a chance to taste it, and you'll be like, okay, this is suspect. A lot of times, coffees can fool you. It could look real good and not really be all that good, and then it could look real terrible and end up cupping very, very well. So you never, you have to evaluate it, throughout the whole process. He pours the coffees, and it forms the crust on the top. And then what we do is we let that sit for a few moments, and then we take our spoon and we do what we call breaking the crust. At that point, you get your beak as close to the cup as you possibly can, and with the back of the spoon, you push that crust aside, and all the aromatics are going to be released. And you want to get in there and breathe that up. Again, warning signs. If for some reason you've got a medicinal iodine, Rio-y aroma in there, it's going to be like, okay, I need to watch out for this. And the other thing about cupping is when we cup coffees, we start at about, 160 maybe, 150, without burning the skin off of your palate. You cup coffees starting at that temperature, and you cup them all the way down to room temperature. A bad coffee will tell on itself as it cools. Almost any coffee right out of the tap, extremely hot, is almost drinkable. When they start to cool, then if there's an inferior coffee in there, it's going to rear its ugly head. You're going to know it. If we can come back to the coffee, we'll take our notes and we sit and we'll discuss and argue about which one we like, we don't like. And then when it's all said and done, we come back when it's at room temperature and we go around again. If it's still past the test, that's your final. If it's still past the test, then it's okay. Then we're ready to go.
All right.
Break the crust.
Go ahead. I want to watch you break the crust. Here we go.
It's smoky.
All right. I got to break the crust.
There you go.
It's smoky.
There you go.
That's the wrong one.
It's not smoky. That one was smoky. I was smelling that one.
That's Buckhorn.
What's that one over there?
These are the Buckhorns. I'm not sure what he's doing.
He gave me the.
This one here.
Gave me something bad.
No.
Smells good. That smells good.
Now we skim. You got a spit cup or no?
You put it in that cup right there.
Yeah.
Placement.
Now as it cools a little bit more, we take a little bowl spoon. What you're going to do now, and we're going to let it cool just a little bit more, but now you're going to take a little bit of the liquid on this into your spoon, and then you're going to do everything Mom told you not to do when you were eating your soup as a child.
Slurp it.
Exactly. as hard as you possibly can. You want to aspirate it so it coats your whole palate. You got 4 major sensations, taste sensations on your palate. You got sweets on the tip, salts and sours on the sides, and bitters on the back. So you want to spray that liquid over your whole palate, and you'll get all those taste sensations all at one time. And basically what we're doing, we're looking at like 4 major areas. We want to know what the acidity level of the coffee is. Acidity in coffee is a good thing, depending on the type of coffee. Like, I particularly love high acidity coffees. It's what I call, gives it a sparkle, a snap in the cup. It's like a breakfast kind of coffee. It's lively, it's got fruit flavors and everything. Typically, your medium roast coffees are the higher acidity. The longer you roast coffee, the darker you take it. You're roasting more of the sugars out of it, you're roasting more of the acid out of it, and if you go dark enough, you're roasting the caffeine out of it as well. So your acidity, then you're going to get the actual mouth feel. How does it feel on your palate? Is it heavy-bodied, light-bodied? Then you're going to go for what we call the acidity body. Oh, you got your aroma, which is your other one. And then the finish. And the finish is it a quick finish, a clean finish, a lingering finish? Your acidic coffees, you're going to drink it, and you're going to taste it for a second, and then boom, it's gone. Your dark roasts, you're going to notice, and here you have you have a medium roast and a dark roast, and you'll notice that when you slurp one and you swallow, you're going to notice that one's lingering a little bit longer than the other. A lingering finish is a great after dinner coffee. If you're going into one of our famous steak houses and you're cutting into a nice juicy steak, and then your dessert is that big thick chocolate decadence cake, you don't want a coffee that's going to be here and gone. You want something that's going to be like a nice red wine that's going to, like a cab that's going to stick around, and you're going to get a nice lingering finish. It's a quality, same quality in a nice espresso, same thing.
All right, you
So-
slurp first.
Okay.
Sounds like my 9-year-old.
Let's hear it.
And normally we'd have the spittoons. We're being polite today, but normally you'd have your cup and you slurp, spit, slurp, spit. Because you'll do a couple of hundred of these.
What kind of
In
job is this? You get paid to do this?
Oh yeah. It's tough, but somebody had to man up and do it. So I volunteered 28 years ago, and I'm still doing
And
it.
you're still slurping, huh?
I'm still slurping.
You expect me to slurp like that?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
This is our control, which is our house blend, and then this is your Buckhorn blend.
All right.
Have a kawaii.
Don't be afraid. I'm still learning how to do it.
Even though it is a little intimidating, it is on camera. Make sure you don't get any grounds in there. You want just a liquid.
Yeah, y'all trying to kill me.
You can try
Help him. Give him
Is this mine?
one that's not stirred up. There you go.
I don't get the sound effects like you do.
I try a little harder.
Good job.
Yeah, my 9-year-old would be proud of me. Still don't quite get the sound effects. I got to practice this.
Don't be afraid of people seeing you.
Pretend nobody's.
Pretend nobody else is here.
The worst is when you
That's
go down.
quite a skill.
Still learning.
All right, I'm done slurping.
You're done. We didn't let it down to room temp yet. You think we got a winner there?
Yeah.
Good floral finish, you think?
I'm waiting for all my
Don't
factors.
no rush to judgment.
It's good. It's good.
Try some?
Give me a slurp.
Yes, sir.
Slurp like you mean it. Come on.
I know. Which ones?
Oh, you better tell me. You better know.
That's dark. God, I hope I'm right. I'm wrong.
Hold on. Hold on.
Unless that was both the same. You didn't tell me to try this one.
You're right.
Okay, good. All right, good. Anyway, so that's the Buckhorn. Hopefully.
I'm all in.
All right. You got now. I know you saw this out there. Anyway, you had this. Take this with you.
That is so cool.
So,
Joffrey's 30th anniversary. Tampa born and raised.